Welcome back. It is 7 past the hour, and as Stephen has sponsored the previous 2 hours, Stephen Burbank, the sponsor of this hour too. Thank you, Stephen, so much. His message this hour: consider energy as a commodity. Consider human beings as energy. Consider surplus goods as becoming so cheap it becomes less than free. Birth control becomes a shutoff valve to the entitlement. Human rights for a bag of tomatoes? You're kidding. We will now take a few minutes and consider that. Thanks, Stephen. Stephen Burbank, our sponsor all evening. Remember last year there was a big-ass battle in the House, U.S. House, about spending cuts. And the Republicans promised to shut down the government, which was going to lead to a bunch of defaults on our obligations. Remember all that? We tend to forget this very quickly because our crack media do not remind us over and over and over again of the double dealing and the lies and the deception of the right wing in this country. But that happened last year. Now, they came to an agreement. The Republicans and the Democratic leaders came to an agreement that set spending levels for 2013, which would put off further budget wars until after the election. Remember all that? Said that? Just everybody, oh, hey, we did it. Of course, the Republicans went around crowing that they had won this and won that. What they had won was deep cuts in spending, which is insane in this time of fiscal collapse. But you need to be someone who reads Paul Krugman's column in the Times to understand why this is madness, or take a look at Greece to understand why this is madness. Have I mentioned yet tonight how much I hate right-wingers? Anyway, as the New York Times in a lead editorial the other day said, now a coalition of extreme conservatives in the House wants to break the agreement and cut spending below what was agreed to last year. And the House Budget Committee, firmly in the clutches of the teabaggers, seems willing to go along with this. Now, it will never pass the Senate, but this is the chicanery and deception and duplicity and lies and fraud that you find every single time a right-winger opens his or her mouth. You cannot trust them. They make agreements simply to break them. They are liars and they are deceivers. Now, as the Times points out, reneging on the agreement would not only endanger vital programs like Head Start. You show me a right-winger who understands what Head Start is and how vital it is and how important it is. And I'll show you a right-winger who is drunk or stoned or on heroin. That's interesting. Not only would the Republicans reneging on something they signed a year ago, would it endanger vital programs like Head Start, but it would erase what little bit of trust is left in Congress, according to the Times. Now, there is no trust in Congress. None. Zero. So I don't know what they're referring to there. But it would clearly demonstrate that the current Republican insane people who run the House cannot be trusted to live up to its own pledges. That should not come as a shock to the editorial writers of the New York Times, but I will concede the point. We will stipulate that Republicans can be and are always deceptive, lying thugs, especially when they get elected. Now, as the Times points out, when Republicans created the debt ceiling crisis back in August, their main goal was to cut spending, and they got their wish. By threatening a government default, they forced an agreement negotiated by Speaker John Boehner that cut $2.3 trillion from the budget over a decade without a dime in new taxes. Remember that? Cut spending. Well, how are we going to pay for things we're already committed to? Oh, we'll just let him die. Now, in this cut, the $2.3 trillion from the budget over a decade was more than $800 billion cut from non-defense discretionary spending in areas like And this is your typical Republican. Education, cut it. Housing assistance, cut it. Transportation, cut it. Public health, cut it. Veterans benefits, oh, hell yes, cut it. Why do people associated with the military, past or present, even consider voting Republican? I don't get you people. I just don't understand you. I don't understand the people who vote against their own economic self-interest by voting Republican. But people who have gone into the military, what is it about Republicans that make you support the party that when you get out of the military is so willing, no, eager to cut your throats? What is wrong with you people? He asked plaintively. All right, here comes the part where it gets numbery, and don't let your eyes glaze over. We'll get Prairie 2 to explain all this later. But for fiscal year 2013, the agreement that was agreed to by Democrats and Republicans and signed into law, the agreement set a discretionary spending level of $1.047 trillion. Now, according to the Times and according to anybody with a sense God gave a sack of doorknobs, that's too low. But that level at least let appropriators in both the House and the Senate know how much they had to spend. And House Republicans crowed about it at the time. Woo-hoo! Yeah! Hello! Paul Ryan, the freak who's the chairman of the House Budget Committee, said, the Budget Control Act represents a victory for those committed to controlling government spending and growing our economy. That last part, of course, is a lie. It doesn't grow the economy whatsoever, cutting this kind of spending. It retards growth in the economy. But the Republicans know, the right-wingers know, that their constituents are dumber than dog droppings, so they can say stuff like that. So what he's crowing about was the cut in education spending, the cut in housing assistance to people who now desperately need it, the cut in mass transportation. Oh, let's pollute the air even more. Right, Ryan? The cut in public health. Oh, who needs public health? There's always the threat of a flu epidemic or something hanging over our heads. What difference does it make? It'll call the herd, right, Ryan? And, of course, veterans benefits. Paul Ryan has never met a veteran that he doesn't despise. Of course, he will hold one up and shine it up and show it off, this veteran, and whether it's man or woman, say, look, I support veterans. Look, it's Veterans Day. Look, here, let me dust the dust off your shoulder epaulets there, veteran. Are you a veteran? Hello. Oh, God, I love you. Today, the other 364 days, I think you're a chump. So now members of the Republican Study Committee, the most right-wing members of the House, that's what they call themselves, the Republican Study Committee. Study? Don't get sidetracked, Mike. The most right-wing members of the House want to bring the 2013 level down to $931 billion from $1.047 trillion. An unimaginable, the Times speculates, 11% cut in a single year. House officials say Mr. Ryan's committee is unlikely to cut that much, but could bring 2013 spending down by several billion. About $19 billion. Now, that $19 billion cut on top of the ones already agreed to could have terrible consequences. Assuming it was applied evenly to all non-defense programs, it could mean that, here you go, 50,000 children would lose access to Head Start. So what, right, Republicans? 20,000 families would lose child care slots. So what, right, Republicans? And 10,000 teachers and their aides would lose their jobs. So what? Right, Republicans? And some of you people wonder why I hate these people. Yes, it is 21 past the hour. So the House Republicans, under the authority of this Republican study group, which are the real neo-fascists that now infest our government, are trying to renege on the deal that they made with the Democrats. And the Democrats, of course, were insane to have gone along with this last year. But they went along anyway because Democrats are cowards, and they're terrified of the idiocy and the stupidity, and I don't blame them, of these Republicans. But there's a way to handle that. And the way you handle any bully is you stand up to the bully, get in his face, and when he says the wrong thing, you make him stop. It's very simple. So anyway, the Senate is sticking to the agreed-upon spending limit, and therefore the House, the decision by these Republican scum to try to renege on their deal could lead to a clash between the House and the Senate. Again, that raises the prospect of another government shutdown, so look for that to happen within the next couple of months. The Republicans know that they're going to have their asses handed to them in this next election. They are going to lose the House. They're going to further lose the Senate. They are not going to get the presidency, and they are going to get wiped out where it concerns governorships or the state house elections that are up for grabs. Watch it happen. So they're going to do this. They're going to try to shut down the government, cause confusion. This is an old communist trick. I mean the Stalinist trick, not communist, but the Stalinist trick. This is the way you disturb, disrupt, and destroy a society. You do what the Republicans are trying to do. And this is why they're a threat to the Republic. This is why they should not have any power whatsoever. The only reason they have power is because the system that is still creaking along in this country gives them the power. And they lie and deceive and cheat and steal and rig everything to get the power. But bottom line, you still have millions of people in this country who vote Republican, who vote to cut their own throats. Look, you millionaires and billionaires, you want a buddy in government? Vote for Obama. Are you out of your minds? Vote Democrat. The Democrats have done nothing but make you richer. Unless you're a complete out-and-out thief and a fraud like the executives in the banking industry. But the rest of you, how have you lost anything under Obama? No, you rich people, you've gained. So why are you horsing around with these filthy Republicans? Why? I mean, what's the point? Is it the woman issue? Are you so afraid of women, you little twits, that you're going to vote Republican because, oh, well, they'll stomp down on the women? Are you kidding? Really? You men are less of men than I even imagined. And you women who vote Republican, you have had your brains captured and turned into oatmeal. Senator Patty Murray, who led the Democrats on the budget so-called super committee last year, said the following: if House Republicans walk away from the agreement their own speaker made less than a year ago, then they will show that a deal with them isn't worth the paper it's printed on. Senator Murray, please. I mean, either you were naive enough to believe that when you signed off on the agreement, that you could trust these thugs, or you think the American people were naive enough to believe it. One of the two. But Senator Murray, you can't now make a statement like, water, I have discovered, ladies and gentlemen, water is wet. Oh, my God. Really? Senator Murray, you have worked with these thugs. You've seen them in action. You are inside the political system that is now so filthy and so corrupt as to render this country ungovernable. And you're going to show surprise? If the Republicans renege, they've already reneged. The Times completes their critique of all this by saying, if Mr. Boner is to retain any credibility as a leader of the House and a responsible lawmaker, Oh, please. He needs to extinguish this rebellion and make it clear that a deal is a deal. Well, the Times editorial board, or whoever wrote this, is showing the same kind of faux naivete that Senator Murray is. You people on the editorial board of the Times, you really are not shocked or surprised, are you? You really don't think that John Boehner has any credibility. You really don't think he's a leader. And dear God, you don't think he's a responsible lawmaker, do you? So why write this drivel?